Hey guys, welcome to another edition of the Detour podcast. I'm your host, Dan Jones, and I'm joined by Johnny Trevorrow, as always, four-time national road champion. And Johnny, you've always got some drama to kick things off on the show, and you're surrounded by cockatoos up at Ngambie today.
Well, it was very early in the morning, so I decided to come out on the patio here, let the grandkids sleep, because we're up at the cabin at Ngambie. But the cockatoos have just started screeching and carrying on. They've gone quiet. They've gone to another tree a bit further away, so hopefully we can get through this.
Can you buy cockatoo spray in Ngambie? I mean, how do you scare off cockies?
I just got some really high-powered cap guns.
Oh, yeah, perfect.
Fire the cap guns and they fly somewhere else, you know.
Well, it must be all those crumbs out on your deck.
Magpies come for that.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm always excited for every ep of the Detour, but I'm really excited about this one because when you go through this guy's career, I reckon he's one of Australia's most underrated cyclists, Iffy. Would you agree?
Without any doubt. Yeah, a boy from the bush in New South Wales who went to Europe as a very, very young man and raced as a junior overseas and ended up winning a German national title as a junior and been pro for more than a decade. An amazing young man. And we're talking about none other than
Heinrich Haussler, who joins us live now from Germany. Heino, it's great to have you on the show, mate. And it's also great to see that you're coming back into some good form. You must be feeling pretty good.
Yeah. G'day, guys. Coming out of the winter really good this year, and already raced in Provence, and obviously last week, the opening weekend, it's a big test, pretty much for all classic riders to see where they stand, how their winter was, and if you're up there in the front, like able to attack or able to get like a top 10 or a good result, that means basically you've had a good winter and you're pretty much on track for the rest of the classic.
Now, mate, I can't help but notice you've got one of the most important appliances in the background, the thermomix. How good are they?
I bought that for my missus when we had kids.
Mate, how many, the soups. I mean, everyone talks about dips and that, but the soups you can churn out in that thing are incredible.
Mate, you can do everything with that. It's unbelievable.
Now,
for some reason, I've only seen a blank screen where Heino is. I don't know. Obviously, you can see him. Hopefully, our fans out there can see him.
Yeah, I can see him.
Yeah, okay. Oh, well, I can't. So, but anyway. Yeah, look.
Here we go. It's going to be a good ep, boys. Strap yourself in.
Last weekend, Heino, was the opening of the Classics weekend in Belgium with Omloop and the next day Kern Brussels Kern. And you were really right at the point in both races, fourth in the Omloop. There you popped up on my screen so I can see you again, mate. You're looking good. Now, it's a bit of a resurgence of form. You had a bit of a quiet year, that terrible 2020, but you're back into some of your best form.
Yeah, it's kind of strange. I turned 37 this year. I kind of see myself now as one of the older riders. But you guys still there?
Yeah, we're there, mate.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Sorry, there's a few technical gremlins going on in the morning today. We've got cockatoos, we've got blank screens. It's all happening.
Okay. Yeah, and then this winter I decided to do a lot of cross races, which has helped me, I think, dramatically. Just because as you get older, you kind of get slower, you kind of turn into more of a diesel, and just the cross races, they've just helped me get back kind of a little bit of that fast twitch, that explosiveness, that power, doing something new, staying more focused during the winter because you're racing every weekend, and it's just like cyclocross for me is it's like, I don't know, as a child having Coca-Cola for the first time. If I can explain that, it's just unbelievable. It's an amazing sport, and I regret it that I didn't do it 15, 16 years ago. It's really helped me.
You raise a good point because, do you get that point in your career? I mean, you see some riders they change teams, or they try and reset the brain essentially to find that spark. Have you found that through cyclocross?
Oh, 100%. I mean, if Sven Nice, if he would offer me a contract, I'd probably take up cyclocross now instead of being a pro cyclist.
And how is it? Is it much more argy-bargy, the cyclocross side of things? Because you see the highlights, and there's guys pushing each other over on the dirt.
Oh, mate, it's absolutely full on. It's really. I myself, to be honest, I always used just to think, oh yeah, cyclocross, it's more for the guys that couldn't make it on the road, and it's just a bunch of Belgians. They just meet up in the paddock and have a ride in the mud, and afterwards have a couple of Belgian beers.
That doesn't sound too bad.
It's also good, yeah.
Yeah.
But I got totally proven the opposite. I mean, there's a reason, like you see now with Wout van Aert, Mathieu van der Poel, Tim Merlier, he won the La Semaine a couple of days ago. Tom Pidcock, he got third in Kuurne in the sprint. He's neo-pro. He's never done the races before, and he's even in Newsblad, he was super strong. I mean, there's also a reason why these guys are so strong. It's just because they have that background of cyclocross, and I think as a road cyclist, it helps you dramatically.
Iffy?
Yeah, I saw you. You started a couple of years ago with the cyclocross, so I wondered what you were doing. But obviously, it's really worked for you. And is it the fact of there's so much. I'm trying to think of the word, but with the.
It's too early in the morning, John.
It is. I haven't woken up yet. Yeah.
Punchy. Is it your punchy sort of,
yeah, that's what it is. Exactly.
Yeah.
That'll do. Yeah.
Yeah, well, obviously, all these cyclocross guys, especially in Belgium, they've started cyclocross when they were young kids. And like me, myself, being a pro cyclist, you think, and it's kind of, you're also riding a bike on cyclocross, you kind of think, oh, yeah, I can just turn up there and I can race with these guys. But it's not the fact. It's so intense and so hard. It just blows my mind away, Even like, for example, on the start line, you've got maybe 300-400 meters just straight. You just got to get in the pedal as quickly as possible and try and accelerate as fast as you can. And you'd think I'm not a sprinter anymore, but you say ex-sprinter or classics rider, you'd be able to keep up with these guys or even pass a few of them. But even on the start line, like these little 60-kilo guys, they just ride away from you. You have absolutely no chance. And it just blows my mind away. And it's just the whole race is like 1 hour. You're 1 hour above threshold. It's just Do
you think that there's going to be a lot of riders that see what you're doing and the Van der Poels and the likes that'll start wanting to jump across? Will there be a real resurgence of cyclocross? Yeah.
For sure, mate, for sure. During Kuurne, there's so many guys come up to me and they said, "Oh, mate, I'm going to start doing cyclocross next winter."
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
And, I think it's an amazing. It's an amazing sport. Obviously, without the crowds, it's not. It's still great, but like especially in Belgium, the fans are just so crazy. Like they're there for the sport. They love it. And normally when it wasn't COVID, you have like 50, 60, 70,000 people there just on this course, and they all pay like anything between 10 and 25 euros to get in there. It's just it's a massive festival. It's unreal.
I remember the Ween Dog dragged me to a cyclocross race where Amstel Gold finish was, but the problem for me was it was right where the casino was, so I missed about an hour of the races because I was playing blackjack. I couldn't help myself. but the atmosphere, yeah, as you said, was incredible. But fantastic stuff. Hey, I know. I thought we'd go back to the start of your career, but what we like to do on the D2 is do a bit of a YouTube deep dive and see if we can steal some great vision. And I found a cracking clip that I think Cycling Central ran back in the day. Mark Fallahy, who's one of the best editors, he's a whiz. He put together this package, and I think this summarises particularly those early days as a junior. So let's have a look and wind the clock back.
Yep.
I was born in Inverell in 1984. I think I got a bike for Christmas. A few weeks later, there was a small race in Gilgai. It's just out of town of Inverell.
When I saw him for the first time racing in Gilgai, he was only little, but I knew then, not because he was my son, could have been any other kid, this kid got something special.
I got third in this race, and I crashed. I remember because my handlebars were all bent, and then I got back on the bike and was coming through the finish line with all the handlebars bent. I was bleeding, and 2 days later it was in the newspaper, and then I got like a medal, $5 for the third place. Took the medal to school to show and tell, and that's how it all started. It was just really fun games.
When they put the little medal around his neck, he looked at me and he said, "Dad, one day I will ride the Tour de France." And everyone laughed, and I was the only one who didn't laugh. I said, "Son, if you really want to do this, I will support you."
When I was 12, for the first time we went to Germany for 6 weeks having a holiday, and in the meantime I was doing a lot of racing. I think I'd done 12 races in that time. And then after that, my dad came up with the idea to maybe send me to Germany by myself to live there alone. When I made that step to move to Germany, that's when it really got serious. I remember ringing Mum a lot of times, just crying, like just homesick, just wanted to go back to Australia. After a year, it all started to get better. You know, you learn the language, make friends.
That's an unbelievable backstory to the beginnings of old Heino. What stood out obviously is that race, the light bulb moment. You know, when you finished with the busted handlebars and you'd had a fall. Is that race singly is like a sliding doors moment for you?
Oh yeah, I remember it like it happened yesterday.
Yeah,
it brings back a lot of memories. It's unbelievable. It's amazing. Yeah, it's great.
And as your old man said in that clip, you had the vision, I want to ride the Tour de France. I mean, how big was that drive? And particularly at such a young age to just have that forward thinking to go, nah, this is what I want to do. And that was it.
Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't that typical, like at going to school, you know, it was more everyone playing cricket or rugby league. And I don't know, I wanted to ride my bike and got a bike for Christmas. Then in Gilgai was my first race, and then straight away I was hooked. And from then onwards, it just got more and more serious. And with my old man, especially, I mean, I wouldn't be the person I am today without him, or where I am at the moment either without him, because he spent every last cent on me, like traveling around Australia, racing on new equipment, new bikes, traveling to Germany. I hope. I mean, I also have kids now, and I hope also that I can be the same father that my father was for me. So he's a big inspiration for me, and it's like I said, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him.
Iffy?
Didn't your brother also have a pro career as a footballer in Europe? Soccer player?
Yeah, he pretty much took the same steps as I did, but in soccer, so in football. But
I think I remember seeing your brother at one of the Tour de France after parties. I don't even reckon he was 18 at the time, and we snuck him into one of the big nightclubs or whatever. Yeah, he was a real character.
He might have been 17, yeah.
Yeah, great times. But that must have been pretty daunting. I mean, we talk about on this show a number of times about, you know, riders that have gone through difficult periods and so forth, but it's all about building resilience. I mean, how much resilience was built as such a young kid to pack up and leave Australia and go to Germany? And as you said in that clip, you know, there must have been some tough times, missing home and things like that. But have those things served you, you know, as good part of your toolkit for later in life?
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, the thing was, at the time, it was kind of cool, a cool idea, you know, going to school, you're like, oh yeah, I'm going to go to Germany by myself, you know. But actually, when you get there, you know, you don't speak the language, you know, just everything. It was terrible. I remember the first year, I think I cried myself to sleep every night.
Yeah.
And like, I was just begging mum and dad, like, I want to come home. Like, I want to come home. I want to come home. And they were just like, no, come on, just stick it out for 1 year. And if it doesn't go good, then you can come back. But, you know, just try and stick it out and make the best out of it and see how it goes. And then it was like that after a year, you know, learned the language. Racing was very successful, and it just got, I mean, it never felt like home, but it did get better. But obviously, yeah, you had to go up very, very early. You know, you had to learn, kind of, not necessarily cook for yourself, but, you know, clean, take a lot of responsibility. And also the sports school I went to, it was pretty hard ass. You know, it was like, you know, terrible early mornings, late nights, a lot of training, a lot of schoolwork, a lot of discipline. But that was kind of also the apprenticeship, a good apprenticeship to turn a pro. So
And so it was a specific sports school. So your father's vision was like, if we send you to Germany, was the drive, there was more races out of your comfort zone, better environment, you know, to give you those tools that if you want to, you know, ride in the tour or that, this will give you the grounding, yeah?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, well, the thing was, back then in Australia, and I was 10, 11, 12 years old, we'd pretty much, you know, travel all the way up to Queensland or down to Victoria, always either for, you know, state titles or other races, tours. And, you know, sometimes there'd be only 8 or 9 guys on the start line. I mean, cycling has, in the last 30 years, completely changed in Australia. And then I done my first race here in Germany, and there was 280 riders on the start. It was just like absolutely blew my mind away. And then it just made it easier because my old man, he's German. So back then I had a German passport, so I had dual citizenship. It just made that step easier to come to Europe where cycling is. And then I had like scholarship at the sports school, so I didn't have to pay. They paid for everything, all my travel, my bikes, my food, schooling, everything. So yeah, using that option or that way, it just made things a lot easier to turn pro.
I remember that when you first turned pro, you were actually listed as a German rider, even though you born in Inverell. But then you had to make a decision at some stage to change your nationality so that you could represent Australia at the Worlds.
Yeah, exactly. Just because I chose that path. So I was also in the German Federation, and I also represented Germany as a junior in the 23s. Then when I turned professional, I had my first chance to represent Australia at the World Championships, and then I was a little bit more grown up then, and I was just like, yeah, look, if I have the choice, then obviously I want to represent Australia because it's just where my heart is, and it would feel completely wrong to represent Germany. Yeah, and then I had to. It took a while. It took almost 1.5 years just with paperwork and everything. But yeah, then I had to give back German citizenship, and then in end of 2009, I was then officially Australian again.
Because I read online that there was a bit of a dilemma because it was around the time of the 2008 Olympics, and they said, you know, what happens if Germany want you to ride for the Olympics? You know, for them, you know, it's a huge opportunity. And yeah, your response was like, no, I'm not going to do it because there's like that waiting period. I think, did the UCI have rules that if you take the start, you're not qualified for 3 years or something, which would have rendered you ineligible in the 2012 Worlds in Geelong?
Yeah, exactly. That was the thing. So Germany wanted to race for them, but I knew, because I was already in touch with Pat McQuaid back then, obviously, because there was a lot of paperwork to be done and other things. So I was in contact with Pat, and he just said, look, if you do that, then yeah, you're going to be like pretty much suspended for this amount of time. So I just kind of left out Worlds for a few years.
Was there any pressure? Was there pressure on the German side? Hey, no, don't change. We'll support you. Here's a bag of cash in a brown paper bag. Any of that sort of stuff?
No, not at all. But I mean, the thing is, I live here in Germany. My wife is German. My kids, they're born here, and I went through that system, and I mean, they invested a lot of money in me, and I'm very thankful for that. But it just, like I said, if I had the choice, it just wouldn't feel right if I had to represent Germany. I wouldn't rather do the Worlds then if I had to.
Well, given you sacrificed a lot then to come back to Australia, what did it feel like to pull on the green and gold for the first time and race?
Well, it wasn't just to put on the jersey. You just always heard from the other guys that when the Aussies, they come together for World Championships, it's just something special. It's like everyone comes from their different trade teams, but when they put on that jersey, it's just they're like almost like a family, like one unit. And it's something that I always get excited about every year if I have the chance to do the Worlds. That to put on the jersey, it's like to go to the World Championships. It gives you goosebumps. It's something special.
Now, one of the breakthrough moments in your career was your first Grand Tour stage win in the Vuelta in 2005. I think it was stage 19. You have a look at the photo here. You're beating a pretty good crop of riders in that period. You got Tomica, you got Brownie, you got Tor Hushoff. What are your memories of that day, mate?
Oh, I mean, yeah, I still remember that. But I was young, and to be honest, I was also a little bit cocky and didn't really have much respect for the bigger riders. I remember also during the Vuelta having a few run-ins with Eric Zabel and what's his name? Forgot his name.
That's right. Early morning, mate.
Pataki.
Yeah. That's Cookie's mate, isn't it? Iffy?
Yeah.
Pataki?
No, it wasn't Pataki that knocked you off. That was the other bloke.
Oh, Bettini.
Bettini. I was just going to ask, being from Inverell, which is very famous in cycling terms for the Grafton to Inverell, but also the hometown of Scotty Sunderland. Did he have anything to do with helping you in your early career?
I mean, a little bit. I mean, look, Scott, he always came back to Inverell, and it was always someone that we kind of looked up to as juniors, because he was like, oh yeah, he's the one. He's a pro over in Europe. He'd come back and he'd come out training with us. He'd train without a helmet and have all the new kit, the new bike, and it's just someone that we look up to. He'd come around like to the Wednesday sessions on the track. We even had a velodrome in Brell, and come out and give a few pointers and tips for the juniors and stuff like that. So I mean, he was always someone that I looked up to as a junior, and then also he was actually the one that got me to Sabello test team. So he's played his role in one way or the other during my career. So yeah.
Now, before we go on the other, while we're talking about Inverell, because the Grafton to Inverell is a great bike race. So I raced it in my day. It was always one of the biggest one-day races in Australia, and still is. But it ran into some tough times, and you actually took over as sponsor of the Grafton to Inverell for a little while. How did that come about?
Oh, it was just back then when I was a bigger contract. I had a bit more money on the side, and obviously I could help out a little bit. I also, I've helped out a little also with junior cycling back then, and also like giving back to my club in Germany where I grew up. Now I'm not. I mean, obviously I can still live good, but back then I had a good contracts and I could give back, a little bit what people invested in me in the past, just to say like a small thank you.
So you're telling us that the Heinrich Haussler Bay Crits of 2020 is in doubt? 2022, sorry. That would have been if his follow-up question.
No, yeah, you beat me to it. Just going to talk about last year, 2020. What a disastrous year it was for the world, but it was very challenging for the sport. How did you see it, mate?
I mean, I think in cycling we've been pretty lucky. I mean, because like our job is to go out training every day or race. For us, yeah, there was a period in summer where there was the lockdown completely, where there was no racing. But apart from that, things haven't really changed that much for us. We still can go out every day. I mean, in Germany, we've been fortunate. Like last year in Italy and Spain and France, they had a complete lockdown where they were like stuck in home for like 2 or 3 months, just riding on the trainers every day. Like that was pretty hard ass. I don't know if I could have done that. But yeah, it's I speak a lot with my mum and dad, and just every now and then I mention to them, oh, so you guys don't have to wear masks when you go down to town or anything. Like back in India, I don't think they even know what COVID is.
Yeah,
So
right.
I'm actually I was speaking with Durbo during Newsblood, and he was just saying, mate, back in Australia it was amazing, because if you compare it to like here in Europe, there's just so many restrictions, and it's I mean, it has to be done obviously, but it's I mean, for example, for my kids, kindergartens are closed, schools are closed, wife can't go to work because everything's in lockdown. People start to go crazy. They would need that social contact, just saying hello to people, have a coffee, or just in general seeing people. It's but it's something you also have slowly gotten used to. It's just normal now. If you go shopping, that you just keep your distance, you wear a mask, get your PCR test done twice a week. It's just it's started to almost become normal.
We were talking earlier about that sort of resilience that you build up at a young age. From some of the riders that we've talked to, the ones that sort of clearly are struggling the most are the ones that are locked into, as a rider, you get that sort of calendar, you get that schedule. You almost become a bit robotic. You know how the year pans out. As soon as that changes, your brain can't process it. I mean, are you in the mindset of, oh, well, it is what it is, just keep moving forward? How did you sort of handle all of that?
Oh yeah, definitely. Always move forward. I mean, yeah, there are a lot of guys also in our team. They struggle with not having this certain structure, not knowing if there's going to be a training camp or what their races are or anything. But when we were at Paris and then we came back home, and that was pretty much okay, everything's going to get all the races called off. Countries started to go into lockdown and close their borders. And to be honest, I mean, we were lucky because in March, April, the weather was super good here. Just me and my other training buddies, like, we just went out every day and smashed ourselves and doing like 4,000, 5,000 meters climbing every day. So it sounds strange, but it was also a really nice period of my career, because we went out, not necessarily to train for a race, but just to have fun. I'm not necessarily a guy that rides a bike because it's my job. I'll slide once I stop cycling, or pretty much for the rest of my life, because I love getting out there and smashing myself.
And have you found you're at that point of your career where you can identify, say if it's on your team, younger riders that are struggling, to pass on experiences that you've had, to act more as a sort of mentor now for these younger guys coming through?
Oh yeah, 100%. You just see it. The younger guys that come up these days, they're just different. Like, I'm not saying they're pussies, but
you could say it, mate.
The thing is, I mean, not all of them, obviously. They all work hard, otherwise they're not pro. But I mean, obviously back then, cycling was completely different. It was a complete different apprenticeship. I remember my first years. You pretty much, if you did something wrong on the peloton, or if you made the first echelon and a few guys weren't happy about it, you just get smack over the head, and they pretty much told you just to piss off into the next group. So and these days you just can't do things like that. Back then there was the big like the bosses, like Cipollini. He just told everyone what to do, and the whole peloton done it. These days there's no respect, there's no leaders, everyone just pretty much fights for their lives.
Do you think a 21-year-old winning the Tour de France particularly has made a big difference in terms of the older guys have to respect the young guys now? Because these guys can smash, results and they are flying. So the older guys are like, oh shit, maybe they're not going to give us that respect because we might have to respect them.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, it's kind of, in one way I'm actually glad that I'm already 37, because when I see some of these other younger kids, or even in my team, I just say to them, mate, you're in the shit.
All the best.
Yeah, you still 12, 13, 14 years to go with this. Good luck with that. But it's unbelievable. The young talent these days that is coming up is almost scary.
Why is it? We've asked a few people on this show, like what has led this resurgence of young talent that are smashing results? What do you think's causing it?
I have absolutely no idea. I really cannot. I have no idea. No idea.
Iffy, what I like about this show is we have a run sheet, right, Hino, and we sort of have a bit of a plan of how it's going to flow in the years, and we sort of started in order, whereas what we've done through this show is we've gone early 2020 back to 05. We're all over the shop. So the back half it'll flow a bit more, but this is usually the part of the show where we plug the sponsors, Johnny. This is where you do your finest work. You've got your script, mate. Who do you want to start with? So let's go.
Yeah, we'll do that. That'd be great. Yeah, they are. Let's go motorhomes. I was going to say, if you've got a holiday, then in Australia, because that's where all the only place you can get them. So let's go motorhome, the perfect family escape. School holidays just coming up, so grab your let's go and go anywhere in Victoria or Australia, of course. Bike rack on the back, just a sensational. Now, I was going to ask you, mate, if you wanted to go for a let's go motorhome holiday in Australia, where would you pick, mate?
Well, obviously, growing up in Inverell, you can do a lot, especially around northern New England. There's a lot of dams around Inverell. I'd go to Copeton Dam for a week with the kids, go out there camping, have a bushfire, do a bit of fishing, and just do the typical Australian thing. I'd get a second one for the cross season. I need a camper van for the cross season.
Oh yeah, it'd be great. Exactly. Yeah, I don't think Let's Go have got any deals for you in Belgium and Holland. But when you come back to Oz next time, mate, which you'll finally get out here with the family, hopefully when all this pandemic settles down, I'll talk to Jerry and we'll arrange a camp for you to go and do that holiday, mate.
Oh, that'd be amazing. I'd love to get out there with the kids and just show them Australia.
We might even slip in a couple of bottles of Michelin wine, Johnny, but we'll get to them in a sec. Jayco Caravans is another big supporter of not just the Detour, but Australian cycling. Massive supporters of Team Bike Exchange, and the man Jerry Ryan is the driving force.
He certainly is, and we always say if you wanted to buy a caravan, when you do, and they're so popular at the moment, I think Jerry's got something like 10,000 back orders for caravans at the moment. You would want to support Jayco because of how they've supported cycling for 25 years, but you wouldn't go anywhere else anyway because they're the biggest selling caravan in Australia by a mile. So go Jayco.
That's it. And Michelin wines, as we mentioned, John.
Well, that's where they're just down the road here. I'm up in the Gambia right as we speak. One of Australia's favourite wineries and a place of escape. Experience the history, the beauty and the serenity of the Goulburn Valley at your own pace, except for the cockatoos. Looking over the vineyards from the iconic tower, staying in the new hotel, relaxing by the pool, recharging in the day spa where you can quiet the mind, unwind the body, rediscover balance in a setting of peace and harmony. I'm going out there for lunch tomorrow, actually. It'll be sensational. It's my 50th wedding anniversary tomorrow. Can't believe it. We made
Well, there
it.
you go. What are you gonna order for lunch? You like raw meat? I'd sort of take. I wouldn't be risking the raw meat because you'll be out of action potentially for at least 24 hours.
Well, mate, there's an amazing menu in the Muse restaurant. But the wines there, of course, they sample. You can have the wines perfectly paired for your meal. Stop by the Providor, tour the cellars, and of course taste their highly awarded signature wines, and taste the craft and care in every bottle. And Mitchelton has become a really popular venue for weddings and those major celebrations like 50th wedding anniversaries and such. But also they've got this fantastic Aboriginal art gallery, Heino. It really is just staggering. And I think it's the world's biggest private Aboriginal art collection. And it's just some of the pieces down there just blow you away. And of course, there is one that stands out. There it is, the $10,000 Land Cruiser with the $3 million paint job.
And John's not lying. It's $3 million, and that price never changes. Yeah, every week on the show, it bounces around between 500,000 and 4.7 mil. So we don't know what we're going to get next one. Now it's time for quick words from our great mates at Bike Exchange.
Look at this bike. You think it's just a bike, right? But it's not. It's a bike 374 people are looking at. This guy, this girl, them, all looking at it. People from here, there, and wherever this is. People that are looking for a bike. Or just a piece of it. Amateurs, semi-amateurs, and pro-amateurs. This guy wants this bike, but with this crank and these bars. This could be the perfect match. But not this one. This girl has a bike to sell, and thousands of people might purchase it. Eyes on Bikes help grow small businesses. His, hers, yours, and the latest data and insights help those businesses keep moving. We are the world's #1 bike marketplace, with over 500,000 products and 900 brands, where buyers and sellers are brought together in a place where a bike is never just a bike. Bike Exchange, where the world buys, sells, learns, and rides.
Thanks again to our great mates at Bike Exchange. Now, the year 2009, sensational year for yourself, Heino. You had some amazing results in the classics. Before we sort of bounce around and get to the Tour de France as well, I've got some vision of Milan-San Remo. Now, totally understandable if you don't want to watch. So turn your eyes away now. But here's the final couple of hundred meters of that incredible race.
Time for the bikes to get out of the way because they're going to come through like a train. And Hincapie starts to pick up the pace here. Bikes are waving themselves off. The whistles are blazing here. And up to the front, that's Hincapie. Where is Cavendish? He's about 3 riders back. He's on exactly the position he wants to be. Right of the field, left of your screen. And there goes Hincapie. He picks up the pace. Where's Cavendish? Has he been lost just as we come round that one of the penultimate corners here? Oh, it's still open-mouthed and waiting to do it, waiting to hit the pace. Cav just getting himself into position. We've got one of the Garmin boys looking handily as well. Haussler's in position, and here we go. It's now or never time, and the bells have rung, and this is the time you've got to go, or just pack up and go home. And Hincapie gets on the back of him and just tries to stay with it. Cav gets himself into position. Hausler's there. Oh, my life! Well, they burst for it with 250 meters to go, and just at the field. Everyone got themselves out of position. Cav just blew that one when it came to the final few curves there, Brian.
Well, Haussler and Cavendish came to the line, and what a sprint what that was. And you see on right hand side, Haussler just goes straight onto the deck.
Haussler hitting the front. did the line. Well, you called it Haussler, and do you know what? I think you might well be right. I don't mean to have no faith. Oh, look at that.
Half a wheel, if you can see that blood thing. But I thought Cav left it to what a brilliant performance there for British cycling. And
my life. Well, I tell you what, ripple of applause.
He never gave
everywhere.
Up. Never gave up.
Never give up, Mark Cavendish. Oh, ye of little faith.
Oh, that Iffy, what are your thoughts looking at that?
No, look, a perfect sprint. I just felt for you. I remember that watching that live, and I thought you had it, and they were giving it to you actually. Did you think you actually had it? You know, 20 minutes ago, you must have thought, I've got it.
Oh no, I could. I could feel like, I don't know, as just back then as like a sprint instinct. You could just, you could just feel something was coming from behind. And there was one or two times where I did actually take a sneak peek underneath my arm, and I could just see this missile coming from behind, and I could feel like my legs were just full of lactate. I could feel I was getting slower. Like I didn't have the same power in the last 20, 30 meters, and Cav just was coming from behind. And then straight away, you could see on my face, it was just like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, exactly.
But to have a 250k race or whatever, to come down to, you're talking like millimeters, you know, like it's incredible. One of the most incredible finishes.
I almost sued Solo.
Yeah,
they should have just made the bikes longer. Then I would have won.
Oh. And then obviously your form continued. I mean, Flanders, you ran second. It was an incredible run, particularly in the classics there for 2009. Did you do anything different leading up to that campaign to give you such an incredible amount of form?
One thing. In 2008, Team Australia stopped, and so for me, it was actually pretty hard to find a team, and that's where Scott Sunderland played a role. He helped put Team Cervelo together back then, and for me, it was really hard to find a team, and I actually only found the team because of him, because I knew him from back in the day, and he pretty much got me the spot on the team. It's like, okay, Heino, look, this is your last chance, man. You can't blow it. You can't fuck it up. And then I was thinking, like, also, with Carl Sastra, the 2008 Tour de France winner in the team, Tor Husov, I was pretty much like, oh, man, now I've got to get my shit together. Otherwise, I'm not going to have a very long career. So, back then also I was a bit of maybe too much of a party boy, too many parties, not really serious and not training properly as I should have done. Took things for granted. My first year I was very successful, and I just thought, year for year, I'm just going to get better and better and better and better. But obviously it's not, if you don't work hard, you're not going to be good. And in that year, actually, I went up to St. Moritz, and during pretty much the whole winter, I was just doing cross-country skiing. And after I came back down from altitude and also from cross-country skiing in our first training camp, already then it was like I had kind of like a turbo or like a nitro. It was just the effect is, I could kind of compare it to the effect now with cyclocross. It really helped me. It's also cross-country skiing. If you're just doing 4, 5, 6 hours every day, it just gives you so much power and so much endurance. And because it's a very I won't say similar sport to cycling, but with the lungs and the heart, the legs, the muscles, it's kind of going in the same direction. And that's one thing that 100% helped me in that year to be that strong.
How important are mentors through that period? Like you're talking about Scotty Sutherland, how important is it to have that person that, doesn't always tell you what you want to hear, to give you that sort of kick up your ass?
Back then it was like, kind of like, oh yeah, don't worry, I know what I'm doing, kind of. But I mean, obviously now with 37 years of age, you see things completely different. And I must say, Scotty, he did help me out a lot back then. Not just helping me get a contract, but also like going through the races, going through the classics, like coming out of Paris-Nice, he's like saying, yeah, look, the legs are going to feel like this. Don't worry, you're going to come good for San Remo. Even if, like, for example, in one race, your legs will be like this in the end, but you need to do this and do this to stay calm, collective, be motivated. So, I mean, yeah, I remember the first part of the year, we did also have a lot of talks just about racing and just like giving his experience, giving tips, just pretty much staying confident and also staying not motivated, but in that mind frame, that mindset, I actually can win, believing in yourself. So, yeah.
Iffy?
We're talking about 2009. What a great year, and we've just seen what you did in Milan-San Remo. But Tour of Flanders, that was a much bigger effort. In that, there's plenty of riders who have gone well in Milan-San Remo because it's that race that people can sort of fluke a place and all of that. But when it comes down to Tour of Flanders, Ronde van Vlaanderen, there ain't no fluking getting on the podium there. It is a real bike race. I think it's the best classic in the world. And you ran second in that. And you had to fight against the wolf pack because De Volder, who won that year when you ran second, had Boonen and the guys all riding for him. So he won alone. So it was a very, very impressive second place.
Yeah, it was. I mean, Flanders is it's probably one of them. I mean, you can't compare it to, for example, like Lombardia or Tour de France or Vuelta or anything like that. But Flanders and Paris-Roubaix are probably the two hardest races on the calendar, just because of the cobblestones and the distance and the way the race plays out, how it unfolds. It's just from the start to the beginning. It's you have to be so focused and so concentrated. And also the cobblestones, they pretty much just they wreck your body, they wreck your muscles, and that's it's such an amazing race. It's the races in Belgium in general, all the cobblestone classic races, they're amazing. That's actually probably the only reason I ride my bike. I mean, to be honest, my season kind of finishes after Paris-Roubaix.
You ran 6 in Roubaix that year. Fantastic result. And you ran 6 again. I think was it 2016? Was it or 15?
Yeah, something like that. No, the year that Matty Hangman won. 15.
Oh, well, I was going to ask you about that. We love milking that footage. We won't show it now. Yeah. But I mean, what effect did that have? Seeing a guy that Matty Heyman finally realised his dream after 15 attempts.
Oh, mate, I'm sure I had a few tears in my eyes too. I couldn't believe it. But I mean, to be honest, also on the day he was bloody strong because I was still in that group, and on Carrefour the group split, and it wasn't like he got to the velodrome, because he was in the group or anything in the early break. He was probably the strongest rider left in the final, and for him to pull it off at his age, and he's also, it's like for me too, I still believe because if a guy like Matty Heyman, bloody sitting on the rollers in his garage and sitting on Swift and doing his efforts, and then comes to Paris-Roubaix, and it's a fairy tale. It's unbelievable.
It is a fairy tale.
I had a really interesting conversation with a guy that was on the show a month ago, Jamie Anderson, about that. And they've done research now into what happened and why Heyman won Roubaix. And the research is showing that there's a new trend. I don't know if you guys are onto it at Bahrain, but it's about heat training and training when your body gets hot and sweats, not tipping over 38.5 degrees, I think. That's like the sweet number. So that if you can train at that sort of temperature, it'll release more red blood cells or whatever and has an amazing effect to give you that strength. And because Heyman did it for 6 weeks, what they're learning now is different ways where it's like even it's going to change the way people warm up on the rollers for time trials. The old day, you sweat, you get your heat going. So no, you don't do that. You've got to warm yourself up at this 38.5 degrees or whatever, and that's going to have maximum effect, particularly in a race with Roubaix when you're going into those reserves in the last part. So who knows, Heido, you might be smashing yourself on Zwift in a warmer room before Roubaix. I mean, it might change the game. I don't know.
No, I won't be doing that.
Now, 2009 as well, obviously, is an amazing day, the Tour de France. Now, the second part of that piece we showed earlier from Mark Fallahy with Cycling Central talks about that amazing day at the Tour. So let's have another look at that video.
Very often you lie in bed in the evening and you often think, is it worse that the sport breaks your family up like this? That evening, that question was answered. Every second, every bit, every dollar, every pain we suffered was worth this.
I always had it in the back of my mind to try and have a go at this stage, even before the tour started, just because it's near where I live. Just the conditions that were really bad, like really cold, or raining, windy, and these are my type of conditions where I know if I just keep my energy up, that I would get better during the day, and the other guys, they would start to suffer.
This man is doing, I would have to say, the ride of his life.
I think with all the hardship and all the very, very hard and sometimes not such good experiences he had to go through, this makes him the person and the rider he is now.
This man is said to enjoy his finest day as a cyclist.
I only really realised it on the last straight, like the last 500 metres maybe. That's where it really just started to hit me, and then, like, just in a flashback, all these memories came back to me, like when I was growing up in Inverell, always just wanting to do the tour, then to win a stage, and I knew exactly there's going to be people back in Australia watching, and especially my parents.
We know that this town, Inverell, will be cheering madly for him tonight. For their time, it's in the middle of the night.
I wish that every mum and dad in Australia or in the world could have relived what we lived that evening. It was just, this is something I will take to my grave. He can now win any other stage or whatever. I don't think that same feeling will ever be the same. This was just the ultimate.
And now he's just going to enjoy the noise of the crowd in his ears here.
It's something I'll never forget. And even now when I see it on TV, I have to hold myself back a bit.
Through the mountains of the Vosges and the Alsace, and he's overcome here with emotion.
Yeah, good ride, man. I tell you, that really is very special, Phil.
My philosophy in sport, with my football and with Heinrich, with the cycling, I always say it started with a dream.
My dad, he was always 100% behind me, always pushing me to my limits. They helped me out a lot, and I really do. I wouldn't be here without them today.
Oh, what
Wow.
a
Wow.
I'm not taking any credit for that. That was all Mark Fallahy in the Cycling Central. But what an emotional piece of content there. I mean, the bond between your parents and particularly your dad, and to see it all come together that day at the tour, I mean, it must spark some pretty strong emotions reliving that moment, mate.
No, for sure. It's like I already said before, like my parents, they're the world for me. You know, I owe them everything, and they've just kind of inspired me also, like, to be that for my kids too. It's just I can't really thank them enough, because really, like, yeah, my whole childhood, we had such a good time as a kid, and my parents, they were just, you know, they like I said, they spent every last cent on me, and I can't thank them enough. It's just, yeah, it's amazing to have that bond, to have have that kind of childhood growing up, it's that means more to me than, winning a race. So that's something like, for example, I mean, obviously I'll never forget the tour stage, but just the fun times we had as kids, that's something I'll never forget.
Now, if you were fortunate to be there live for that day, and there was so much stuff going on that day in the background. I mean, it started, we were at Giz's place and we had breakfast, and Jerry got some great news. The dinosaur show was going to Japan, and I think they dumped a fair bit of coin into his bank account. I said, mate, if I got that news on the phone, I wouldn't be able to finish this bacon and eggs, So we went to the race busy, and everyone was in a good mood. And then obviously, you won the stage. But there was drama on the road as well. A good friend, Julian Dean, was shot by a pellet gun in the peloton that day. There was someone up in the woods.
Yeah, I remember that, yeah.
And I remember Scotty interviewing you after the finish, and he famously said, Heino, you'll be popping two things today, champagne and that saddle sore that you were telling us before the start. What are your memories about the emotion? Because this started as a kid that said, I'm going to ride the tour, but to fully sink in that you have won a stage of the tour, what can you remember the raw emotion that you went through? Obviously, we saw the vision of the finish, but can you remember specifically what was going through your head?
Oh yeah, 100%. The thing was, I already had such a big lead, but because I had already coming up to the tour, I had already like 9 or 10 second places, and I was just thinking, I don't know why, I was just thinking, there's still going to come, someone's going to come from behind, or I'm going to crash, or I'm going to have a mechanical, I'm going to have a flat tire, and that's why I couldn't really soak in anything until the last kind of 600 meters. Where I was like, oh yeah, actually, I won a stage. I'm going to win a stage. But even then, it was just straight away. It was just like, I remember, like I said in the video, it was all these flashbacks, like they just happened so fast. It's like just growing up in Inverell, like we'd go out after school every day at 5:30, and we'd always at the end we always do a big sprint for the town sign. Going out on the bike with my old man, racing on the track on the velodrome on the Wednesday evenings. And just knowing also that my parents, that they'd be at home, like just probably absolutely bawling their eyes. My old man with a bottle of Bundaberg in his hand, ready to celebrate. It was I don't know. I didn't expect it. It just, the tears just came automatically, like just tears of happiness. Like I just couldn't believe it. It was. Pretty cool.
What was that first phone call with your parents like when you were able to talk to them after winning that stage?
Oh, I can't really remember, to be honest.
Yeah,
I can't remember that. But
well, yeah.
I remember.
I was going to say, as your old man said in that video, I mean, they were obviously elated, and those memories, of that day and being up at night and seeing you win that stage, they're going to have that for life, obviously.
Oh yeah, but it just also in general, they're just massive fans. Like they're the first messages I get on my phone after a race, just asking me how the race was, seeing if I'm okay, or making sure I didn't crash if I wasn't on the results, for example. But it's I was thinking of them when I crossed the line, and that's also what made it so emotional.
That's awesome, mate. Johnny?
Oh, I got to say, that was an amazing day, but we celebrated pretty hard for you as well. As Dan was just saying, Jerry Ryan was there with us, and we had a group of the Detour mob, Alan Lang. And I remember we were in a little hotel right in the middle of Colmar. It was like a little German hotel because it was almost a part of Germany, that part of that on the border of France and Germany. But they looked at a great restaurant. Alan and Jerry were down in the cellar picking out the best wines, and we partied like big time. I remember and Jerry saying to me, now, John, because he had to fly to Italy for a business meeting the next morning, don't forget, I've got this early morning flight from the local airport. We've got to leave at 5:30. I said, that's fine. But we kept partying. Anyway, about 4:30, 5 o'clock next morning, I get tap on my door. Open up. It's Jerry. He's just out of the shower. Got a towel around him. He said, "Just checking that you're up." I said, "I'm up, mate. I'm ready to go." And off he goes. And about 30 seconds later, tap on the door. He said, "I've locked myself out of my room." Kidding. So we then tried to ring the numbers in the hotel, and it turns out because it's in the middle of town, no one actually lived in the hotel. None of the staff, the owner, they all lived in their houses around. So he's stuck. He said, "Oh, I'm not going to get that plane." So I just tried ringing the actual number of the hotel, and sure enough, the owner answered at 5:30 in the morning. And he got he's struggling. And I said, "Mate, we're the guys who drank all that wine last night, remember?" Yeah. I said, "You've got to come and open the door." So next minute he walks in his dressing gown, opens the door for Jerry. We race out in the car. He said, "Come on, we're going to go." It's in the GPS. And we roar off and we pull into the Colmar parachuting club. We're on the wrong airport after all of that. But re-Googled, got to the airport, and the plane was delayed, and luckily Jerry caught his flight to Italy.
The iffy cat always lands on its feet.
But I'll tell you, we partied big time that night. It was an absolutely amazing day.
Yeah, sensational. Now, let's move forward to obviously the Nationals. 2015, it was obviously another fantastic day. Let's have a look at the final sprint, the last couple hundred metres.
A long way from home for Jack Bobridge. Campbell Flakemore sits behind him. It's then Caleb Ewan, and Heinrich Haussler has got himself in contention. He sits behind Caleb Ewan.
He's in fourth place and he's chosen the fastest known wheel in this breakaway. Ewan is broken early. And look at this, Haussler has gone for him. Heinrich Haussler is shoulder to shoulder with the young superstar. Haussler is going to give this to New South Wales, and that's the first gold medal of these championships for New South Wales, and he is the champion of Australia, and that is an incredible result for Heinrich Haussler.
Heinrich Haussler, the only rider in the group that we said could possibly beat Caleb Ewan in a sprint, has proven that to be the case. He gets the win. Caleb is in second position. Neil van der Ploeg will round out the podium in third. What a moment for number 15.
I can't believe it, really. It's just the whole day, being in the first group, no one really wanted to work. Everyone was looking at each other. Then the next, I pretty much already gave up. It's going to work for Dave. Then the group went again, and it was just like every climb was just suffering, coming back. And just in the sprint, it was unbelievable. It went perfectly. I was on Caleb's wheel. He was following me the last 2 laps, and I was thinking the whole time, "Oh shit, how do I get him off my wheel?" So it just went out perfect. He had up actually pretty early, I thought, because it's a full gas headwind. And seriously, that sprint was like San Remo back then. I was just, the last 100 metres, I was just trying to get every little bit of energy out of my legs, and lactic acid was just pouring out of my ears. It's unbelievable. It's almost the best day of my life. I can't believe it.
I haven't seen that sort of emotion in your face after a finish line since Colmar winning a stage of the Tour de France.
Yeah, that's the thing, Since 2009, I've just had a lot of injuries, operations, coming back, falling back down. Really worked hard this winter. Came out early here in December to train. And finally things are going good again. It's the best day of my life. I can't believe it.
I was just doing interviews now.
That's a bit cool. We've seen the Tour de France and we've seen the Nationals. Is that still the best day of your life, or is the Tour top that?
I haven't seen that interview before.
Obviously, it was static in the moment.
Yeah, it was different. Of course, it's a special day. You know that you're going to wear the jersey for a whole year, so that's what makes it so special. So obviously, it was probably the second best day of my career, or the second best day of my life. But yeah, it was absolutely amazing. It was just because I'm not saying it because I'm Australian, but the jersey, it's just beautiful. It's the best jersey in the peloton, and knowing that you can wear that and represent it, or especially over here in Europe, in all the big races, it also means something. So it was amazing, and yeah, also brings back a lot of nice memories.
Yeah, but it was a great win. Actually, you creamed him in the sprint. I thought Caleb would look like going to be the winner that day. He actually put up an amazing ride. I thought you were cooked the last time up the hill. You really looked, you looked like you were struggling, but you came back really well.
Well, that was the thing. I mean, already the lap before, I tried to get rid of Caleb, and I went way too deep. I attacked way too hard, and all the guys just went over the top of me. And then I noticed once we got over the top, because they were also attacking each other, they were all kind of a little bit kind of cooked, and they couldn't just keep it going. So I got back on the descent, and then once I got back, I'm like, maybe I might be in here with a shot. I might be able to get to the finish, and if I get to the finish, I might be able to win. So I knew on the last time they were going to attack. It was just obvious. So I just followed the wheels, and then I just stayed on my 550 watts. Didn't go over my limit. Let them do what they wanted to do, and kind of happened like that. They went all out. Attacked over the top, kind of looking at each other. Didn't really have the power to keep it going. And then I got back on the descent again, and just. Bobo, he hit out really early. Then, like I said, it also like in the interview, it was a pretty strong headwind, and Caleb, he just went way too early. And I remember I was just sitting on the wheel. I'm just like, I was licking my lips, just like, oh yeah, I got this one in the bag. So,
well, you said. You said in the interview that you'd overcome so many setbacks. I mean, take us through some of the injuries that you had in that period before 2015, and mentally, was that obviously pretty taxing to come back injured, come back.
Yeah, 2010, I had a really bad crash in Tour de Suisse. The one with Cav, if that says anything.
Oh, that's right. Yep.
And then I tried to keep on going, but things weren't just going. Like there was still something wrong with my knee, and then I had to get operated on my knee. Then just the thing was, my knee just didn't get good, really like proper good again. It was always something wrong. I was always osteo, physio, everyday osteo, and then I just got problems again because I didn't do the right physio. I didn't build up my left leg properly before I came back. Then I got hip problems with my hips, with my back. And I still got a few good results, but I never reached anywhere near my level that I had in 2009. Every now and then I'd have a few good results, or I'd get a top 10 in the classics. But I could never attack. I could never be with the top guys in the final. Then I changed teams to IAM in 2013, and then I really felt good again in the classics. I started to feel like I was kind of getting back to that level where I should be. And I had a few. I think I got fifth or sixth in Flanders. A few good top 10s, fourth in Ghent-Wevelgem. Then. Come to Tour de Suisse, I had another crash in Tour de Suisse again, and I broke my hip and broke my pelvis.
Yeah, that's right.
And then that just put me out I didn't race for the rest of the season. And then again, just done it totally wrong. Just waited, then got back on the bike, not doing the right physio, not building up my muscles, my left side. And the thing was too, this all happened on my left side. And things I was always trying to reach that level, always searching, but I just couldn't get back to that level that I had back in 2009. And then also a couple of years ago in 2016, 17, I had also again some bad knee injuries. I had within 1 year I had 3 operations on my knee, and it's not like you have an operation or even a small operation that you can just jump back into it. It takes time, and it's sometimes mentally very hard to stay positive or even stay focused. So that's why I appreciate now just being on my bike, being able to ride my bike pain-free, and that's why I just love it. Every training I just go out there and smash myself, not because I need to, but just because I can. I love it.
It's just a wonderful story of persistence, Heinrich. I mean, it's so impressive, bud. But the beautiful part of this is you are showing form right now of back 2009 type form, mate. So, but you are. So I'm really looking forward to watching you next few days in Paris-Nice, which starts tomorrow, I think. And leading to the classics, Milan-San Remo would be right on your radar again, but I reckon especially Tour of Flanders. I reckon Ronde van Vlaanderen, you're going to give it a real shake, pal.
Well, I mean, all classics. If you've got form already now, and that's also a good sign for the races coming up. And it's always the same types of guys in every race, so really going to choose one or two races and just go absolutely all in and try and get a good result. I mean, I've got this year and next year, and then I'm pretty sure I'll stop after that. So even in youth blood, I mean, to get fourth, I'm not saying I'm old, but to get fourth with 37 years of age, I was super stoked about that. I still know that I can do better, but just if my best result will be fourth or whatever, and I know I've done everything.
Matty Heyman won Roubaix at 53, mate. You got time. We've got a couple of comments from people. San Jensen says, wow, look like Danish Christopher Juhl Jensen from Bike Exchange. I don't know if that's a compliment, mate. Jack Bartle says, first time catching one of these live. Love the show. And Ian Thomas wants to know, hey, Heinrich, it's been good to see you close to the front of the bunch recently. Did the cyclocross you've done make a difference to your form?
Yes, 100%. 100%. Yeah. Next year, I'll be doing a complete full season.
Now, one thing I have to ask you before we let you go is a sports director that's joined Bahrain this year is our good mate, Neil the Sheriff Stevens. How's it been working with Steve-O?
Well, to be honest, I haven't really caught up with him that much. I mean, during training camp, we had, obviously, because the COVID restrictions and everything, we all were in our own little groups and bubbles. And Steve-O was in a different bubble or different group than me. So, I mean, we did have a quick chat. But he's going to be in Paris-Nice, so it'll be my first time working with him. And to be honest, I'm actually pretty excited.
Well, I'll give you a word of advice from the 6 years of working with Steve-O. I used to always say he's got a red texter, right? He's got a green one that rarely comes out, and that's where you get the Steve-O mental tick. You're in his good books. But he's got a red one. And if there's two crosses, I saw many guys make the mistake thinking, he'll get over it. He stores a bit of stuff, the old Sheriff. So if you get the one cross, work your ass off to get that rubbed out. But if you get the faithful tattooed two crosses, that's it. You've got the Sheriff cross, and it's very hard to get off that list. So, yeah. But we always like to finish on one of the words of advice. I mean, we've gone through the pandemic. We've gone through a lot of tough moments, not just for a cyclist, but people in general. What's the thing or the takeaway from your journey, this amazing journey that we've just heard, that you can give to people, particularly to get through those tough moments, Heino?
Oh, there's always light at the end of the tunnel. Like, just keep motivated, work hard, and your time will come. It will come. You just have to want it. And my old man always used to say, if you want something, you just have to work harder or want it harder than the others, and you'll get it.
That's awesome. Great advice. Anything before we go, Iffy?
No, just keep at it, mate. I'm really looking forward to these next couple of weeks. And the word I was trying to think of before was intensity. It was the intensity of the cyclocross that really builds you up quickly. It's almost as good as riding a Bay Crits before the intensity of a 1 hour Bay Crit.
It's exactly like Bay Crits, the hot dog course for 1 hour.
Exactly
like that. It's exactly the same.
Well, mate, it's been a sensational chat. As we said, such an inspiring story, and the connection you've got with your parents, particularly your father, and having that dream at such a young age, going for it and realizing those dreams is bloody inspiring, mate. So really appreciate you coming on the show, and look forward to seeing the Heino of old. Given that you've got those leg fiber twitches going, we should see some big results, mate.
Thanks, guys. Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me.
Thanks,
mate.
Heino.
Fantastic. Sensational.
Legend. Cheers, mate.
See you guys. See ya.
Heinrich Haussler, Iffy. What an amazing story. What an amazing journey. Geez, I thoroughly enjoyed that.
Yeah, sensational. And I love the way he gave me a plug for the Bay Crits at the end. He's a good man.
Yeah, that brown paper bag. It's coming out when we see him in Geelong. Now, as we always say, if you want to follow the show, YouTube / the Detour podcast, and like, share, review on we're on Spotify, iTunes. Tell your mates. Any other stuff you want to plug, John?
No.
You might be having a potential garage sale coming up soon as well.
Oh, of course. Yes. We'll keep you informed on that one. We've got a whole stack of Scott frames and leftover gear that we're putting up on Bike Exchange very soon. It's some amazing deals. So good one. Well picked there, Dan. We'll the next Detour episode next week, whatever it will be, we'll give you some more information on that one. Be a ripper.
So if you're thinking about buying a new frame, you can go to bikeexchange.com.au, or you could wait for if he's run out sale. We'll let you know all the details next week. Thanks again for tuning in, guys, and we'll see you again soon.